British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he has announced that his intention to step down as leader of the Conservative Party once a successor has been officially named. Mr Johnson emerged from number 10 Downing Street to deliver his resignation speech following a week in which he resisted calls for him to step aside. He says he has already begun appointing new cabinet ministers to serve during his time as interim Prime Minister.
Still a spring in his step. But this now the end of the road for Boris Johnson. His wife and other die-hard supporters in full applause still. But it couldn't mask the mood. These MPs comforting each other as they came to witness something they fought hard not to see, as did he. But after days of defiance, the Prime Minister now reluctantly relenting.
It is clearly now the will of the Parliamentary Conservative Party that there should be a new leader of that party and therefore a new Prime Minister. And I've agreed with Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of our backbench MPs, that the process of choosing that new leader should begin now.
Accepting new leadership now necessary, but first a pointed reminder of what this leader achieved.
Thank you for that incredible mandate, the biggest Conservative majority since 1987, the biggest share of the vote since 1979.
And making it very clear to the public that he neither wanted nor in his mind deserved to go.
In the last few days I've tried to persuade my colleagues that it would be eccentric to change governments when we're delivering so much. I regret not to have been successful in those arguments, and of course it's painful not to be able to see through so many ideas and projects myself. But as we've seen at Westminster, the herd instinct is powerful. When the herd moves, it moves. And my friends, in politics, no one is remotely indispensable.
Acknowledging then he couldn't carry on, but Mr Johnson true to himself until the very end. No remorse and no mention even that this was a resignation. What he did offer up was regret.
I know that there will be many people who are relieved, and perhaps quite a few who will also be disappointed. And I want you to know how sad I am to be giving up the best job in the world. But them's the breaks. Even if things can sometimes seem dark now, our future together is golden. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
And with that, the Johnson era drew to a close, turning his back on a bruising period. Outside the Downing Street gates, chants of liar and a sense of fury. But it was dissent on the inside that caused his downfall. An avalanche of resignation letters triggered by previously loyal MPs. Even the new Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi not resigning, but urging Boris Johnson to go. From the very top to the bottom, staunch allies calling time.
When I made that decision to resign as a parliamentary private secretary, which I appreciate is at the very bottom of the ladder in terms of ministerial roles, I knew that once I made that decision, that it was the right decision. I haven't regretted it once. I'm just sad that it came to this, because I think he is, as I say, a good person instinctively, and I think that he could have been and should have been a great Prime Minister, but sadly, just some poor choices over too long a time, that just meant that his position was untenable.
But the business of running the country goes on, the Prime Minister appointing a new cabinet. Yet even those in post wondering what comes next. But clear of one thing, policy decisions are now out of the Prime Minister's hands.
Here's the thing, this is a caretaker government. It's not the business of this Prime Minister to start announcing new policies or taking government into a different direction. It's his business to manage a transition in an orderly way, and through that process actually redeem some of the ground that he clearly lost yesterday when he stubbornly refused to resign.
So he's an administrator rather than a leader at this point?
Well, I think he has to be.
But that task now so difficult, department after department deserted.
I just worry that he isn't going to be able to bring the stability that we need. He's got a Chancellor who's already said he doesn't have any confidence in him, and 2 or 3 other members of the Cabinet. The Attorney General is outwardly campaigning for his job. It's just not a credible way to form a government.
Boris Johnson will always be remembered as the politician that brought Brexit to Great Britain. At his height, he was the most successful Conservative Party leader at the ballot box since the days of Margaret Thatcher. He won a huge mandate and had it in his gift to lead this country for a decade or more. That was the plan, but it didn't turn out like that. Instead, he finds himself leaving office and as one of the shortest-serving Prime Ministers in the history of his country, a man who in the end let his party and his people down. A politician who is as talented and charismatic as he is flawed and destructive. In the end, it was Boris Johnson who brought himself down. And even on the way out, the opposition trying to hasten his departure.
They've declared him unfit to be Prime Minister. They can't inflict him on the country for the next few months. If they don't get rid of him, we will bring that vote of no confidence in the national interest, because we can't go on with this broken government led by this discredited Prime Minister.
Westminster left reeling after the most extraordinary 48 hours in recent British political history. This a dramatic end to a dramatic premiership. Boris Johnson as defiant in giving up power as he was in taking it. And a politician who will always be remembered, if not always, for the right reasons.